The reason why you can't get a stop right now in college football 26 is probably because you can't stop corner routes, or worse, you're using the wrong defense settings. But don't worry, by the end of this video, I'm going to solve both those issues and more with 5 tips for lockdown defense, and you're not going to want to miss any of these. Let's jump right into it. Alright, and so like I said, you can't play good defense if you're using the wrong defensive settings. Let me show you the best ones to use right now. Alright, so you're going to be at the play call menu, or you're going to press the right stick in to open the coaching adjustments. You're going to make sure you have your cornerback matchups on balance, okay? And you're also going to make sure you have auto flip on. Now, pay attention, because this is something I never talked about and you're not going to want to miss. Why auto flip on? I'm about to show you on the field. It gives you actually more control over where your players are lined up. But defense and motion response disabled. All right, you want to make sure you have your RPO pass on conservative, safety depth close, safety with pinch. Those are kind of the ones that I've talked about before and you probably know about. But we're going to come into our game options here. All right, and we're going to scroll down until we find gameplay helpers. All right, ball hawk on. That's going to help you catch interceptions when the ball's in the air. Heat seeker assist is going to help you make those dive suction tackles on the ball carrier in the backfield. And then switch to delay, you want to make sure this is on none, and then switch assist is on. All right, those are going to help you switch players a little bit better. But the reason why people, actually this is kind of a debate, auto flip on versus auto flip off. All right, let me show you what happens when you have auto flip off. All right, so we're going to come into any play right here, and this allows us to flip our play. Now, some people say that this is what they want. They want to be able to flip their play. They want to control where their players lined up. But here's the problem. When you have auto flip on, it makes it to where your slot corner is always going to come out on the right side of the slot receiver, right? So it's the slot, I have it off right here, so he came out of the wrong side because I guessed wrong. So again, the slot receiver is number 1. My slot corner, Bray Hubbard, is all the way over here. And so now it flips my defense. I might want my defense to actually look the opposite way. I might want my defense to actually look more something like this, where these guys are kind of lined up over here. This is the base look of this coverage. This is how this coverage is supposed to look. But when you have auto flip off, it reverses the coverage simply because you guessed wrong. But here's the thing, if you just turn auto flip on will make it to where they're going to always come out on the right side. So we're going to come out in gun bunch right here, and you're going to see how your slot corner, again, Bray Hubbard, is going to always line up on the same side, lined up right over the slot receiver. So having it on, EA is already going to control it for you of where your slot corner lines up, which greatly determines, how your defense sets up. The only time you really want to turn auto flip off is if you need your slot corner on the opposite side of the slot receiver to set up a blitz. But for the most part, you just want to make sure that you have your slot corner on that same side as the slot receiver by turning auto flip on, and that's going to make your defense way better alignment wise. So those are the best defense settings you need to be using. Alright, so the next thing you need to make sure you're mastering is actually how to switch stick better. Let me show you exactly how to do that. Alright, so when I say improve your switch stick, what am I talking about? Well, if they go ahead and hike the ball, they might have this guy open, they might have that guy open, and then they might have him open, and you see how I took everything away, right? And when you switch stick, you're going to make it harder for them to make reads, right? They might think someone's open, but they really know they're just going to switch stick onto that. I can't throw that. So it will make them much more antsy in the passing game. But you're going to say, BLT, how do you actually switch stick? Okay, all you're going to do, flick the right stick in the direction of the guy that you want to switch stick onto. And you're really just trying to understand what route concepts they have in the field and how the play is developing. You have to actually read the play, right, to know who to switch stick onto. Right here, everything's taken away, and so we're perfectly fine. But really the best way to improve your switch stick is, again, start to recognize route combos, right, on offense, so that you basically know as soon as the ball snaps where certain receivers are running, what could possibly get open. You need to understand where your weak points are on defense, right? So if I'm in cover 2, I could very easily get beat by flood concepts. So all these things are important, but the best way to improve your switch stick is to get into practice mode, hook up a second controller, right? Spy off the pass rush just like this, so that basically what you're going to now do is have them take the snap, and now they're going to have all day to throw, and so you're just trying to switch stick as much as possible. And so you're just trying to make sure that there's no green grass anywhere, right? Or as much as possible, right? So you see I'm constantly switching, right? You might have to start using the D-pad if you want to get onto some of these linebackers, but you see this guy runs across the field, we get him, then we get here, we peel back up, we come here. So you can, I mean, eventually you're going to have to throw the ball away, but you can just see how that's going to give you a great feel for where you need to be as far as flicking your right stick. I know exactly where I need to flick my right stick in order to get switch stick onto a particular player, right? And so that's really all it comes down to. Boom, boom, and I'm constantly switching, and I'm just trying to take away as much real estate for them as possible anytime that they want to throw the ball. And this is great because route bounces are unpredictable, and so you're just really going to have to try really hard to actually, get this down pat and get it perfect. So switch stick, just again, flicking that right stick in the direction of the player that you want to switch onto, and the best way to practice is just by having them call a whole bunch of routes, running in whole different directions, and then you're just trying to switch stick to take away those route bounces. Alright, those first 2 tips don't even compare to what I have for you in the rest of the video, so make sure you subscribe to this channel for daily Madden 26 defensive breakdowns. But if you want this entire video in written form, step by step for your next game, go to the link down below in the pinned comment where I break it down in my written tactical breakdowns. They're only the price of a coffee, and you're going to get everything so that you never forget it in your next game. But also, you can join CFB where you get all the written breakdowns for the month for 70% off. I can't wait to help you out. Alright, your next problem is you don't know how to stop deep passes, corner routes, crossers, really anything that runs deep down the field. Let me show you the best way to do that. Alright, so there's 2 great ways that I like to stop corner routes. Alright, you're going to put your curl flats on 5 with your flats on 25. Alright, you're going to come to a Tampa 2 base play. Now, you're going to see how you have flats dropping back to 25 yards, right? And so if they go ahead and call a route concept like this, which is again going to be attacking that deeper sideline portion of the field, you're just going to see how we're going to have a guy dropping all the way back there to knock that pass away. And for some reason, I got a question recently, BLT, how do you stop shrieks in this game? A deep half will stop a shriek every time. Right, you can see how this is just a cover 2 deep half. This deep half's taking away the shriek very easily, and then you're going to see how we're going to have a 25-yard flat dropping to stop the corner out. No problem. But the problem actually that is created is now since you have a 25-yard flat, there's no one dropping into the flat, the shorter flat area. So if they call a flood concept like this, you're going to see how there's going to be a guy dropping out there at 25 yards, but they can just pretty easily hit their tight end or whoever wants to run underneath for an easy gain, all right? And that's why we're going to put our curl flats on 5 and introduce to you the double Mabel coverage, right? And so we're going to see, boom, we're going to put our slot corner in this case, which again, having auto flip on, make sure that he comes out on the same side as a slot receiver like we talked about earlier. So you can see how these things kind of connect, but you're going to see how, boom, we're going to have a 5 and a 25 on the same side. So now we're going to have 3 players defending their 3 receivers running these particular routes, all right? So we're going to see, take the snap, 5 is dropping right there to stop that. We get a pass breakup, and you already saw earlier where we had that 25 dropping to stop the corner route in this case. And that really wouldn't matter if that was a post route or crosser. A 25 is going to do a great job of stopping that. The only reason he came down here in this case is because the ball was already thrown. But if this guy continued to run his corner route, quarterback holds on to the ball, we continue dropping back there. So this is fantastic, but you can't only do it on one side. That's why the double Mabel is so important, right? So now you're going to see we're going to set it up on both sides to really complete the double Mabel. We have a 5 and a 25 on both sides, because if they decide to change it up now and they want to call a route concept like this, for example, well, now we're going to have a 5 on the left, and again, we're going to have a crosser that there's just a guy sitting on that crosser for an easy interception, okay? But that's only the first way that I like to stop deeper passes, all right? That takes a little bit of adjusting, right? You have to actually set your zone drops. You have to put your 5-yard flat in the field, and, some people don't like to make any adjustments. So if you kind of want to turn your brain off a little bit, reset your zone drops here, all to default, right? You're going to set them all to default, and you're going to come into any cover 6 defense. So you see here from nickel 33 mint, also called nickel 33 odd, you're going to come into cover 6. All right, you're going to move these guys over. You're going to just make sure that you have good alignment right here. You're going to use your Jefferson, and you're just going to watch how the same flood concept is completely taken away, right? So if we go ahead and have them take the snap right here, I'm not doing anything with my controller, and we have perfect defense. No one's open. Why? Because match coverage is literally the perfect coverage to take away corner routes. You see how this corner route gets matched onto by our outside quarter, right? Our inside quarter does a great job of taking away this shriek, and then our quarter flat is already sitting right here to stop the flood concept. Very easy. Then you can also see their C route is going to be taken away by our soft squat, by our deep half on the other side. But it's not just done, right, against corner routes, right? I promised you crossers were going to be taken away, right? So if we have them called the same route concept right here, right, where they're going to have, you know, another flood, I'm just going to use the defensive line, and you're going to see how great of defense this is against that route concept. Again, you would have a user on the field to help take away some of these other passes, but again, you can just see how for the most part, I mean, this is just fantastic defense. Drags taken away, crosser gets matched onto by, you know, by our inside quarter, and so everyone's guarded. So really utilizing either match coverage or the cover 2 double Mabel is going to be the best way to take away those flawed concepts and deeper passes down the field. Alright, every single game you play is going to be won and lost inside the 20-yard line, inside the red zone. Let me show you the best way to play red zone defense. Alright, so we're just going to have them call a random play right here. And the best way that I like to play red zone defense, there's two things you have to understand. Everyone's going to try to beat you with gimmick plays and RPOs, alright? And then if they are going to pass the ball, you understand that they don't have a whole lot of room to actually pass. So really the best way that I like to, you know, set this up is just call cover 2 and get really aggressive with my coverage. And so what do I mean by that? I'm going to cross man the tight end. Like, I'm not going to feel bad about it, right? So I'm going to man my top safety up onto the tight end here in this case. I might man my other top safety onto their running back, right? We're going to get aggressive because we understand that people don't call normal route concepts inside the red zone. For example, right here, they're calling an RPO, right? You could also put your safety in a hook zone. So again, right here, you just have to be ready to stop the run. So again, right here, we're just going to loop around, and you can see how cover 2 is going to do a great job of stopping that particular RPO. But again, they're in random play. So now we have a different play, and we can just, again, depending on their formation, depends on how aggressive we want to be, right? You might want to cross man their running back out of the backfield again. So something like this, kind of take away that right side here, but boom, we're going to go ahead and take the snap from them. They're going to bring their guy in a short motion, and this would be absolutely taken away. Again, because we're in cover 2, we're getting really aggressive. So again, different formation. You're just seeing kind of what I would do here against all these different formations, what adjustments I would make. All right, right here we're switch sticking and we're everywhere. Boom, we're right back in the middle if they want to throw that pass over the middle. So again, cover 2 is the best red zone defense because you have 3 underneath defenders at least, and then you can get really aggressive with your safeties as well. You can see how I'm doing a great job switch sticking, taking away their backside routes. They would probably throw me a pick right here because I'm just so good with the switch stick. Boom, and so you're able to see it collapse the pocket well as well, and so we don't really have to get too aggressive with our blitzes either, because again, they're not going to have a whole lot of things to throw, and they're not going to have a whole lot of room. But like I told you earlier, the RPO is really what you're having to play against down here in the red zone. So I know Georgia Playbook has some good RPOs, and so we're going to call one of them here. So how do you stop those RPOs, right? So all you're going to do is identify who's most likely to get the ball, right? So in this case, I happen to know that I believe RB is going to be getting the ball. So I would man up RB, all right? I would shade my coverage down, and I would have that guy manned up, and I would press RB right stick up to pass commit. Right? So you're going to see we're going to pass commit our defense, and we're just going to be ready to stop the run with our user. So you're able to see how we're able to come up and make that tackle. Now you need to read which particular run they're probably going to call, right? So in this case, I'm going to switch users. I'm still going to man up the tight end. I'm still going to shade underneath, and I'm still going to pass commit, right? So they're going to take the snap. Now I'm just going to loop around and be ready to fill that gap very easily and stop the run. So you can see I'm easily able to stop the run with my user, and that's why I can pass commit. The pass commit is really mandatory here because it's going to take a pass commit to be able to stop this flat route right here. But you're able to see how we have this guy manned up, and then we also have a flat right here who actually gets blocked. And that's the reason why you need to make sure that he's manned up with a safety, right? And then you need to make sure you have a hard flat so that even if someone's looking into the backfield, you're still able to cover your butt. right, with another man. So again, we're gonna take the snap right here. You're able to see how he's manned up, and I loop around and shoot that gap with my user. So again, red zone defense comes down to stopping the run and stopping RPOs first, because you understand that's what a lot of people are gonna try to do. But then you also have to be sound and be ready to stop their RPOs. So right here, boom, we're able to stop this with Bray Hubbard. If they were to not hand the ball off, you're able to see how he's right there. He's manned up onto this guy, you know, up until they actually hand the ball off. He changes his assignment. But being able to stop RPOs, being really aggressive with your coverage down in the red zone is going to help you a lot. And you're going to hold more opponents to field goals, which is going to help you win more games. All right, so the last thing that's really going to help you out on defense is actually playing better man coverage. Not having to make adjustments, pretty much just putting your controller down and still getting stops. Let me show you how to do that. All right, so when we talk about man coverage, it doesn't matter what man coverage you actually call. It also really doesn't matter what players you have. I'm going to come in pinch 0 from nickel through mint. All right, I want you to look at 86 right here on Georgia, right, on the offense. You're going to see how this defender is going to have an outside leverage on him, which really means if they call a corner out, not to say that their corner out could never get open, but you really wouldn't expect him to. All right, so they're going to have their corner out. You're going to take the snap, and you're going to see how essentially he's just running that route for that receiver, and he's very easily going to be able to break up that pass, again, because he's shaded outside, and, you know, he's running a corner out. That doesn't even make any sense for them to call that play. But you're going to say, BLT, what if they just call a dig instead, right? What if they call an in-breaking route? And that's exactly where they're probably going to be able to beat you. Again, man coverage is fluky anyway, so there's a chance that this still gets guarded. But we're going to see how, boom, we're going to take this snap. And this dig route, he has way more room to operate across the field, right? And so he's able to bring that pass in, right? And so you're going to say, well, just shade inside. Well, if you shade inside, then that leaves you susceptible to the corner route, right? And so there's really no getting around that until we meet the route commit feature, right? So what we're going to do, we're going to press Y, we're going to press A, and then we're going to click onto the receiver that we want to route commit for. So in this case, that would be B. So we're going to shade our coverage inside, but then we're going to route commit our coverage outside, right? So we're going to press left stick to the right here. All right, so we're going to shade our coverage inside, and we're route committing outside now. We're going to have them call this same corner out, and again, we're route committing outside. So we really expect our DB, like he does right here, to basically run that route for that receiver, and he gets a very easy pass breakup, all right? And again, you're going to confuse people because if you really think about it, you're shaded inside. So if I'm on offense, I'm thinking that, hey, if I just call a corner out, that's the perfect route to call. Right, but you're able to see how no, because when you route commit on defense, you're basically telling your DB, hey, this is exactly what route they're running. You need to get out there and stop that. And so they're not really going to be able to throw those corner routes when you're actually route committed outside, or any outbreaking route for that matter. But you're going to see how this really solves your problem against in-breaking routes, because you're going to be shaded inside, which gives you the body position towards the inside. So again, man coverage is a little bit fluky and variable, so there's going to be times where it's like it doesn't, like sometimes you can still get beat, so nothing's ever 100%. But I'm going to shade inside, then I'm press Y, and press A, then B, and I'm still going to route commit outside. And I'm going to do that every play, right? Because I believe if they run an out-breaking route, we're shutting it down. But even if they run an in-breaking route, right, we're going to be able to guard it. So you're going to see right here, we're going to have this receiver Bell on an in route, and you're just going to watch how that's really great defense in man coverage by that DB. And especially when you combine this when you combine it with more of a blitz, like you see right here, we're able to get really quick pressure, and he's still recovering well. Right, he does get beat a little bit on this, but he's still recovering well as these guys run across the field. And then also, it's like the quarterback's already sacked by the time he's open. Like right here, this really isn't that open, right? These guys, they're running in the same area anyway, and so it's really not that open. So the route commit is going to transform the way your man coverage plays, because essentially body position is going to bail you out when you route commit incorrectly. But when you're able to route commit outside and they run outside, or route commit inside when they run inside, you're going to be playing lockdown defense. All right, so again, if you enjoyed that defensive breakdown, just imagine all the tips and strategies I have in my 326 defensive ebook. You can go to the link down below in the pinned comment and grab it today by using code WELCOME to get 20% off. But again, if you want this entire video in written form, like I told you earlier, so you never lose in your next game, that's also on my website, and you can join CFB University to save 70% off all of the written breakdowns every month. I'll see you in the next one.